Hey everyone, Fred here from the CC Network, welcoming you to my Night of Champions review. This was going to be recorded straight after the show ended, but I was quite tired afterwards, so lo and behold, I've waited, had a good day, and I've come back ready to record this thing right now for a Tuesday upload. In fact, if it's not Tuesday now and you're listening to this, oh boy, something may have gone wrong. But nonetheless, I've been hearing around from a lot of people that Night of Champions was average, that it was well wrestled, there were some decent things, and overall it was an okay night of pro wrestling. I will disagree with that, because for me, there were quite a few problems docked around the night, and inevitably, I can blame that on the build not being strong enough, which therefore means some of these matches wouldn't have what is necessary to entertain me. But it proves why a lot of people can't disagree with my opinion sometimes, because my view on pro wrestling isn't the same as everyone else's. Because for me, even though the matches may be well wrestled, it's all the little things that make wrestling fun for me to review, and if they aren't good enough, as you're about to see from my rating factors, it's not worth looking at all. On the good side though, I did manage to get the predictions mostly correct. In fact, including the pre-show, I got 7 out of 8 matches completely correct, so I must have done something right to get only one of them wrong. Inevitably, you'll find out which one I got wrong coming up later on. Anyway, the pre-show, which I got right, was the Cosmic Wasteland defeating Neville and the Lucha Dragons. I did say they would, and good to know a heel wins on a pre-show. Very good thing. Now, let's go on to the main matches. For the first match of the night, which I did not see coming, and a result that I did, Kevin Owens defeated Ryback to win the Intercontinental Championship. Why this opens the card, I have no idea, but you can't really believe that Ryback was going to get cheered here, and he wasn't for the most part, which is something. Nonetheless, let's look at the ratings here. Psychology was a 3.5, and it's all because of the arm. But before we even get to that arm, Ryback got offense at the beginning, and I was happy for this because I'm thinking, okay, this feud, this entire thing was rushed together. We needed to find a reason for Ryback to be angry. He's having his self-help book that helped him through a tough time insulted. He's having his integrity insulted. He wants to prove he can go toe-to-toe with Kevin Owens and be something of a worthy opponent to this challenger, and he proved it by thinking, you know what, you want to have a go at me, I'll deck you down first. Then it's when Kevin Owens goes after that arm where this match excels. He worked on it quite a bit, and with Ryback, he sold it like a boss, especially highlighting this quote, "Referee, my elbow," which implies, holy crap, this arm is hurting me so much that I'm having to tell the referee, come look at this thing, because it's injured badly. And you think that says something? Look at the moves he was hitting on it, with headbutts to the shoulder, with a lot of arm breakers, stretches, which slowed the pace down, mind you, and the fact that after that, he had a Fujiwara armbar on the damn thing, after he couldn't hit the shell shock on Owens. You know, this is the thing that I like about Kevin Owens. If he's not doing a flashy stunt-filled match, he's doing a psychology one with lots of body working. It's fantastic. And the fact is, Ryback did his fair share by holding that arm with any time he stood up. Sure, he hit some moves with it, but he sold it afterwards. Hell, he even sold it when the match was over as well, which you can't go wrong. Then to add even more psychology to the pot, you know what? Kevin Owens knew he was doing well. He was working that arm, he was injuring it, and he knew, you know what, I could easily beat this guy, but fuck it. I'm a heel. I'm a bad guy. I have to do something that will inevitably get the fans to hate me more. And yeah, I rake the guy's eyes, get a roll up, and get the pin. So it was a cheap way to win, but my god, it worked. It was good to see good old heel tactics in wrestling once again, and he didn't look cowardly doing it. He'd done the damage. It was just going, meh, I don't need to put you down, I can just make you look like a weak wrestler who can't kick out of a simple roll-up. It worked. And then I look at the move variety, though, in comparison. A 1. You see, we've expected from Kevin Owens that his move variety is very high because he does so many ridiculous moves. Swantons, moonsaults, all kinds of stuff. And the thing is, this match had nothing of it because, again, it was a psychology-driven match. And because of it, I couldn't see any move variety from either man that made me think, okay, here's something that I either have not seen or will not see unless it's a big match like this. And this is the problem, because I needed more of it. And sure, we did get a reversed ramming of the elbow into the top of the steel post, which was lovely. But I didn't feel there was anything else that made me jump out of my seat going, okay, that was pretty damn good, which is disappointing. The crowd reaction, well, it was a 2.5. I have to admit, They were into it from the start, and they were gradually getting behind Ryback as the match went on, but they were cheering for Owens like crazy whenever he did something that was more than just rest holds. So, yeah, I have to admit they got hot for this, they were interested throughout, which is surprising, because like I've said, if you put a match with lots of rest holds, a lot of stretching of weak points, it's going to bore the crowd, but this crowd was surprisingly into it. I just wish they weren't as in and out of it with Ryback's offense as they should have been, because when Ryback did get offense, the crowd weren't really into it. And the multiple near falls helped as well, because they kind of got into that, which is always good. Match length and pacing was also a 2. I felt that it was a stop-start with Ryback in the beginning. It slowed the match down, and honestly, it was slowed down even further with Owens working that arm. And sure, it works, but I need to see Owens have his natural fast offense for a guy his size be, used properly. And I felt the match didn't utilize that. You could have used it in the beginning to wear him down, then you could have gone for a slower bit in the middle and worked up to a flurry from Ryback to resume the pace. But it didn't get done. However, there was a lot of momentum shifts after Owen worked the arm down, and it sped up as a result of the drama from the near falls. And it went 10 minutes exactly. And I feel, okay, 10 minutes was a perfect length. It felt good. Can't really say more than that, really. It was decent in that regard. It could have been a little better in terms of pacing its speed. It could have gone a bit longer, maybe 3-4 minutes if it had done that. But the fact that it did its job in 10 minutes, I'm actually quite satisfied with it. Then we get to my enjoyment, which as you can see is a 2.5. I felt the match delivered on what it could, and honestly, with a lack of build, it delivered more than it actively should have done. And for me, I thought, you know what? Kevin Owens is going to produce some good matches with that belt around his waist. I'm happy he's won it. I knew he was going to, but I wasn't expecting him to do it in such a dominant fashion, knowing how WWE wants to keep Ryback strong. They made and showed him as a resilient champion, or now former champion, who is willing to take a beating to prove his worth. And we're going to see a rematch very soon. So, I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm looking forward to seeing it, because if we get more matches like this, I'll be happy. Although it was missing some moves and some pacing issues, and to be honest, some crowd reaction, keeping some consistency, it wasn't bad. I give them credit. It's an average match of 2.5 stars. I enjoyed it, and I was hoping, let's hope the night gets better and better from here, but alas, what we got next didn't make that possible. And you know why? Because it was Dolph Ziggler defeating Rusev, and oh boy, the thing is, these two, the feud, should deliver some better, more intense matches, but I'm not seeing that. I mean, Ziggler won through one of the most random ways I've ever seen. And as you can see on the screen right here, it got ones across the board apart from psychology and crowd reaction. Now, that psychology saved this match. I'm going to point this out to you. That psychology saved this match from tanking to a 0. Now, here's why. Rusev was angry enough to get the offense for most of the match. He wanted to beat the ever-loving crap out of Ziggler, and it showed, which was great. And then, of course, the We Want Lana chants broke out, which made him freak. But this is the problem. Do you know how long it took from Rusev getting most of the offense at the beginning of the match through to that middle point where that We Want Lana chant broke out that switched the momentum around? It took nearly 8 minutes. And I'm thinking, wow, you didn't really need to wait that long to make that happen. But yeah. And also, you know what made it even funnier? Rusev got the pin and thought he won, which the crowd had a go at him for, which was funny, I guess. And yeah, he freaked out. It was funny. Then comes the ending, right? Ziggler accidentally hits Summer Rae, who is trying to interfere and shout and distract the referee. She gets thrown into the ring accidentally, and then she's chucked out for doing absolutely nothing. You know, I've seen people chucked out of the ring at ringside for actually assisting things, pulling referee out of the ring and getting wrestlers hitting them nuts or whatever the hell you can do, and they haven't been removed. So to see Summer Rae removed for absolutely nothing is ridiculous. It got the referee distracted, allowed Rusev to come in. She then tries to chuck a shoe at the referee, which is a nice idea, and it hits Rusev in the head, allowing a roll up from Ziggler to get the victory. And I have to admit, that was a nice way to end the match, but everything else in between absolutely sucked. And I can go through this quickly. An elbow to the outside by Rusev didn't actually connect properly. There was a sloppy roll-up by Ziggler, which I hated. The catapult to the top turnbuckle by Rusev was very good. In fact, that was the only move in the match I liked. The famous counter to the turnbuckle actually botched. And the DDT to Rusev by Ziggler may have looked fancy, but it didn't even hit the canvas. There were so many sloppy botches in here. It made the match look really weak, and it shows by looking at the rest of it. The match looked awful. It looked sloppy. And I have to admit, while the crowd were interested, they lost it once they realised, oh, this match is going to be having Rusev get all the offense. And there was a guy at the ringside who booed really loudly. And sure, the We Want Lana chants were the loudest they were for the whole thing. And sure, they were loud for a couple of the near falls, but not much else. They were not attentive. And this match tanked as a result of it. And then I look at the pacing, right? And I've got to say, it started quickly, but once that offense went through, it slowed. And every match that Rusev does is a slow, methodical pace. And it's boring because it's happening every time. First half of the match, Rusev gets the beating, and then bang, the face comes back and wins. That has been the mantra since the beginning, and it's starting to get grating. Not to mention, after Ziggler being beaten up for most of the match, he surely should be completely out of it and drained, and he ends up fighting back looking like he hasn't been hit at all. It doesn't make any sense. And sure, there were near falls to give drama to a match that had none, because Lana wasn't there, Summer Rae's interference came too late, and she didn't do enough to try and distract Ziggler, which is what would have been necessary for the story. And overall, for 14 minutes, this match was way too long for what little it had. And do you know what was the highlight of this? The match was boring as sin when Cole highlighting JBL's loss to Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania 25 in a Dear Diary notion got the biggest laugh from me of the night at that point. That just shows you how bad this match is. And if it wasn't for the psychology of the finish, of Rusev getting the offense, of him reacting to things, this match would have gotten a 0. And the fact that I'm still talking about it after 6 minutes really kind of shows how angry I am. Because this match should have been better than this. The problem is the last time they wrestled, it wasn't very good either and ended in a double countout. The problem is, this is worse. This is worse. If this feud, which I have no interest in the first place, is going to have matches of this quality, get it off my damn television. Get it off my pay-per-view. The fact that this isn't a 0 is incredible. It's a 1/4 of a star. In fact, why am I still ranting about this? I have other matches to get to. I shouldn't be taking my time up ranting the negatives of this match. I should be getting on to the good ones. Well, saying that, though, the next one didn't really light my soul on fire either. And that's because we have the Dudley Boys winning the match by DQ against the New Day, but the New Day retain the tag titles. And I said it in my predictions that Xavier Woods would come in and cause a disqualification or help them get the pinfall. At least one of those came true, which made my prediction correct. Hooray for me. And inevitably, I look at this match and think it could have been so much more. And you can see the ratings right there, it could have been. Psychology was a 1.5. Now, I know the New Day wanted to stand up and prove themselves to the tag team legends. And, well, it did take a while for that to really come through, because Big E got in Bubba Ray's face once he got tagged in. And I got a good laugh out of that, as well as loving it as well. Xavier Woods, I have to admit, once again, he was the reason this entire match caught my attention in any form. Because that guy out there with the trombone, he's singing along, he's chanting out, it's fantastic still. And I look at him thinking, when he goes up for a superplex with Bubba going up there, he goes, no, don't do this, Bubba, don't do this. And I'm thinking, really? He's going to listen to a guy with a trombone at ringside? It just made me think, yeah, Xavier Woods is trying to be positive while also trying to tell him, don't hurt my best friend here. Quite fun. And the thing is, these two teams are supposed to hate each other, but it didn't really feel like they did. Because this match should have had more aggression, the Dudley Boys going full out on them, wailing on them, going out of the ring and punching the crap out of Xavier Woods for good measure, but that didn't happen either. Inevitably, this is all summed up by this. Big E did his big apron splash, and it hit Bubba right on the head. You could tell, for the rest of this match, Bubba Ray's face was redder than, well, Ric Flair with a crimson mask, I'd say. And inevitably, do you know what happened after that? Bubba kicked out at 1. And I'm thinking, whoa, okay, all sense of realism is out of the fucking window with that one. I looked and thought, really? I'm supposed to believe that Bubba Ray Dudley can kick out of that, which at 1, which many people have barely even kicked out at 2 from? Yeah, I'm not believing that for a second. Especially how he landed, that could have ended the match, let alone. And yeah, that was not good. I've already mentioned though, Xavier Woods getting the DQ. I called it. It was definitely the right decision for the match ahead of time. What we're going to see in the future, who bloody knows, but it could be entertaining. There should have been bodyworking, there should be more Xavier Woods involvement, whether it be beating up or whatever, like I've said. I thought overall, for the aggression that the Dudleys had shown and the intensity that they'd shown building up to this, it didn't come out in the match, and that's what I wanted. I wanted the New Day to be a little frightened, but determined, while also showing the Dudleys as, well, you know what, we're going to show we're good enough at beating the crap out of you. We didn't see any of it. And I'm thinking, that was an opportunity wasted. The move variety was a 1 because simply nothing that I haven't seen from these two teams before, but it is worth noting the superplex and the apron splash looked very dangerous indeed. Maybe Bubba needs to start working on his placement and some of his execution. Just saying. The crowd reaction was a 1.5, and I have to admit the Dudley's offense got the crowd going. I've got to say this though, the one thing that stood out from here was the huge cheer that came out after Xavier Woods was tromboning in sync with Kofi and Big E stomping down in the corner on Devon. It was fun as hell. And you know what even, that's the fun about the New Day. They do little things that make their matches exciting, and you can't go wrong with that, can you? Then, of course, a hot tag to Devon. He's usually the face in peril for a reason. A hot tag to Devon didn't set the crowd on fire, and it really didn't work. Sure, after the match, the 3D through the table was fantastic, but of course, I don't really count things after the match is finished. Unless I really have to for storyline purposes. But match length and pacing was a 2. It was consistently quick in its moves, even from the Dudleys' power-heavy offense. And I felt overall 9 minutes, 57 seconds, with a lot of momentum shifts going on. This thing actually proved great, because it made me think, okay, even though there isn't that much going on, at least you're keeping it entertaining by having the pace consistent. You know, sure, that Big E working down Devon and Bubba, which was the slowest point of the match, but inevitably it didn't detract from it, because every time it kept being quickly broken up and restarted again. It kept my attention, but that's all it really was for. Could have gone a bit shorter considering what match this was, but what am I going to say? It was actually one of the shortest matches of the night, which is something when every match went over 10 minutes pretty much. Ugh. And overall, I look at this match and say, once again, if it wasn't for Xavier Woods, I wouldn't be interested in this stuff. Because, okay, the Dudleys, I love them as a team. The New Day, I love them as a team. But overall, this match disappointed because of what lack of stuff was in it. You know what I've said before? Going into this show, the build was poor. But this is one of the matches where there had been antagonism. But both sides. Matches where both had screwed each other out of it. Saving the tables. You know, they could have done so much more with this for me. And I overall was disappointed by it. I mean, I'm giving it 1 star. It wasn't abominable by any stretch of the imagination, but I really wanted more from this match. And I didn't get it at all. And I hoped once again that this consistent run of form of the last 2 matches would change. And oh boy, I got it in the next one. Charlotte defeating Nikki Bella to win the Divas Championship in, get this, the best match of the night by a country mile. Yeah, a Divas match got best match of the night on a WWE main roster pay-per-view. Who would have thought it? Because WWE, you pulled an ace out of your sleeve with this one. Let's take a look in, shall we? Psychology of 4. And you all know why if you've seen this show. This match could have easily been Charlotte getting in, raging her way to victory in a squash match like many had predicted. They didn't. They went down a really smart route with this one, because Charlotte, going over the top rope, tweaked her knee within the first minute. And the thing is, I had a feeling to myself, it's either going to be a squash match, which it clearly wasn't based on how this was going, and then it made me think, this entire match is too predictable with Charlotte going into this match. Nikki Bella needs to show determination, in-ring awareness, and skill. The only way she could have done that was to work an injury to prove, hey, hey, people say I can't wrestle, but I'm going to prove to you why I'm ruthless enough to hold this championship and why I have held it for so long outside of cheating. So yeah, she targeted that leg for every single move throughout the rest of the match, which for Nikki Bella was incredible, because I was thinking, watching, going, what am I seeing here? I am seeing psychology by a women's wrestler who is known to not wrestle very well or have much psychology to deliver. This was brilliant. And honestly, Charlotte went on, and I'm just thinking, oh good God, this is going to be ridiculous. And you look at the moves that Nikki worked into it, and the list is quite long. Let's go into it here, shall we? We have suplexes to the bottom rope, ramming it into the LED apron, multiple leg locks, multiple knee drops, drop kicks, wrapping the leg around the ropes, a single leg Boston Crab, jumping off the top rope onto it, a slam into the post, a figure four onto the post, countering a pin attempt by kicking the leg through, a suplex into the turnbuckle, and it just... You look at that and just think, oh my God, Nikki Bella should have shown this kind of stuff a long time ago, because then I would have seen that ruthlessness that she keeps going on about. And it made sense here that, hey, you are a better wrestler than me, so I'm going to try and take your leg out. It worked so well. And I know Charlotte's screams were a little bit, flat at times, but she sold it as realistically as she possibly could without screaming her head off, which I've critiqued divas like Kelly and Caitlyn in the past for, which definitely proves its point that I really don't want to have that. And overall, like I've said, Nikki wanted to retain and showed it with her offense. Team Bella tried to interfere and help Nikki win it, and of course PCB stopped it, which again works off well. And Charlotte, she had some offense towards the end, limping. I mean, seriously, what more could I want? What kind of highlights it even more, she hits a neck breaker while kneeling on a good leg to remove the pressure from the bad leg. You see what I mean here? This was bodyworking done so well that I was freaking out, because I did not expect this. I thought it was going to be a squash, and it wasn't. You see how good this sounds. But the thing is, it all got kind of ruined by the psychology of the finish, because, yeah, I didn't expect that to happen, and I'll get to that later. Move variety was a 2, and mostly for the mid-air spear that Charlotte pulled off, which was fantastic. Then you get all of Nikki's offense, because seriously, I haven't seen a lot of the moves in this match that she's done before. That was enough to make me think, okay, I'm going to give Nikki the benefit of the doubt here. Her entire offense counts as a 1 on, or 0.5 or whatever on the move variety scale. That little spear was Charlotte's only major offense bar that neck breaker, and it was great. So what do I have to say? The crowd reaction, it could have been more. It was a 2.5, because honestly, there were boos for all of Nikki's offense. The crowd wanted Charlotte to win, and they popped when she did, but for everything else, it was kind of muted. I was really expecting the crowd to will Charlotte on. They did, but it wasn't very loud, so it kind of lost a little bit for me, thinking, okay, I'm now just waiting for the inevitable, but I'm loving the psychology, so it's keeping me interested. The crowd weren't necessary for me to enjoy this one. The match length and pacing, it got 12 minutes and 47 seconds, and overall it got a 3, because, as I said already, it could have been a squash, but luckily it wasn't based on the start. And you know how I've usually highlighted that if a match is slow, then it's really bad, like the Rusev-Ziggler match? If it's done with reason, it's fine. And you look at this match and say, it is good. Working Charlotte's leg as a weak point, the wear of that leg and the way that Nikki was working on it, it made the pace feel natural, which is all I ask for. And here, though, even with all that praise, is the one major problem of this match. The finish. It was rushed. I'm sorry to put it out there, but seriously, the mid-air spear, then the figure 8, and she taps immediately. For me, I would have liked to have seen more offense from Charlotte, attempting to do more, but then getting kicked out of, and then having more offense put on her leg. She tries again, almost to show her determination. She kind of just sat there and took it, which built the sympathy, but it inevitably made me go, you can do better than this, Charlotte. What the hell are you doing? And overall, yes, okay, getting the win and saying, I think as Good Michael and a few others have highlighted, yes, even with all that offense, it took one painful move for Nikki to tap out so she looks weak. I get that, but I would have liked more from that finish. It just came out of the blue, it was anticlimactic, but that still didn't stop the crowd from losing their minds. And as you can see, guys, my enjoyment was a 3.5 because this match was fun. Because this is what happens when you have psychology in probably one of the best built stories going into this show. That this match delivered way more than I was expecting. I thought, okay, I'm going to be rating a 1/4 star to 1 star squash match based on what little they can do with it. You know? But the thing is, instead, I got a psychology-fueled, well-paced, exciting match where Nikki Bella gets most of the offense. Who the hell thought that was going to happen? And guys, it's the best match of the night by a country mile because it's 3.25 stars. If you want to see any match from this pay-per-view, this is the one you need to see. This is the one that matters. The rest of the show, as I've already highlighted, bar Owens Ryback, doesn't really sing the best. And we're going to see why this is the case with the next match. And that was the 6-man tag match with my only wrong prediction of the evening, with the Wyatt family defeating Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and their mystery partner Chris Jericho. Now, I want to point this out. I was actually kind of happy that he was, because it made sense for story purposes. If he got put out by Wyatt, he's come back and thought, hey, I've got some beef, just like these two have. I'm going to go in there and help you win. Seems good. But as I realised looking into it, thinking, why would you want a small guy in here? As Rico pointed out to me on Skype last night while watching the show, why would you put a small cruiserweight guy in there? That made me realise something. They may not win this, but I was still saying, okay, they've got Jericho, he's a fan favourite, of course they're going to win, it makes sense. But this is where the rest of the psychology kind of comes in here, right? That it didn't really go anywhere. I look at 1.5 there, right? We've got Jericho back, all's good. Both Ambrose and Reigns try to double team Strowman, but they get floored, which shows, yeah, Strowman's strong, that's all good. Here's something that kind of annoyed me a little bit, though. It builds a little bit of story, because it kind of throws your head a bit. Commentators highlighting that Strowman is the son of Sister Abigail. I'm going to point this out here. If they ever reveal a Sister Abigail, she better not look really, really young, or that's going to look messed up as hell. Trust me. Strowman got Ambrose over the barricade after attempting a sleeper hold, which was a lovely bit of psychology, thinking, hey, you may be awesome, but I can chuck you over and make you look like a weak pussy-ass bitch. And he did, so it's all good. And he's been built like a tank, so therefore you need to. Jericho tagged himself in at the end, which disrupted the team's natural flow in getting the win. He got caught in Strowman's power moves and got knocked out, which honestly I wasn't expecting, but it showed Jericho was their Superman, the guy they brought in to help them, and he ended up being the weak link. I love that kind of storytelling where a team supposedly looks strong, but that one little mistake will make it all work out, and actually end up making it all work out, in my way, is saying that the match actually makes it look fun, because I'm saying it right now, it made Strowman look like a beast, it made the Wyatt family look dominant, because Jericho thought, oh, I can be too over-exuberant here, and not to mention Strowman kicked out of the Lion Salt at 1, so what more do I need to say? The thing is, I do have more to say. There could have been some more body selling, because honestly, working Ambrose throughout the match would have been nice, and I would have liked to have seen Jericho in the match more, actually, having a go at Bray, but that didn't really happen much either. In fact, to be honest, if it wasn't for Strowman or Harper, Wyatt didn't do much, which really annoyed me, considering how much he was leading these guys, but that could have been the reason. Overall, there wasn't much on offer, which is disappointing. Same with the move variety. In fact, on my notes here, I have nothing. Seriously, nothing. No move variety. Crowd reaction was a 1.5. I feel Jericho's reveal got the crowd hot for the start, but Strowman's offense, whenever he was in the ring, that killed the crowd a bit. You know, it made them go, oh, he's going to beat them up for a bit, and we're not going to be interested, and then, oh, Ambrose is in, and he's gone. And they kind of just went in and out. There were decent pops throughout, especially for Strowman being floored by a spear towards the end, but there wasn't much for the crowd to get hyped about because the pace of the match was slow. And this is where the psychology really should have been hampered, because Strowman was attacking these guys. They didn't really fight back much, and it really hurt it. The match, like the pacing through that, took a bit of a nosedive. It was a fast-paced match at the beginning, which gave some nice flow between individual tags from the face team, but then, like I've said, Strowman's entry slowed this match to a crawl. And sure, it shifted the pace to suit the performer, but it sucked the crowd dry, and it meant that this match lost a lot of momentum quickly. Speaking of which, the momentum shifts went slowly as well, but they were enough to make the match feel a little fresh, thinking, okay, we're waiting for these guys to come in. They come in, they do their thing, and they're gone again. Simple. Okay, it was so stop-start. It didn't find its perfect speed. Like I've said here, it was either too slow or too quick. It never felt a natural flow to me. And while I'm watching this match at 13 minutes and 5 seconds, where there was not much to show, and the pacing was off, I thought to myself, are we just waiting for an inevitable conclusion here? And that inevitable conclusion didn't even show up. So, the match disappointed, and my enjoyment, as you can actually highlight, is a 1.5, because, okay, I enjoyed some of Strowman's offense, I enjoyed some of the hot tags, and it was relatively alright, but the biggest thing of the match was that guy in a bulletproof vest cover jacket looking like a Shield member jumping into the ring next to Roman Reigns before getting tackled at the beginning of the match. It was funny. That was the best thing in it, and that wasn't even planned. And we had Bray Wyatt taunting him, saying, hey, is that the best you got? Laughing at him. That wasn't even when the match had begun. That was more psychology than what the match gave. And overall, this was a 6-man tag that didn't actually feel exciting. And this is the problem that I have, actually. With the matches that Bray Wyatt does, they are psychology-driven, and if you can't use the psychology of him getting inside your head and working you down throughout a match to make it work, the match feels awful and flat. And with all these multiple personalities not doing anything of worth that can actually bring the crowd and myself to cheer, it proved it. I'm not joking with you. This match, I had a lot of expectation going into it, and I could have done with someone like Daniel Bryan bringing everything in and wanting to beat the crap out of Wyatt for all the shit they've done to him in the past, which would have been lovely, but it just didn't work. And sure, Jericho will probably continue the storyline with both these two after what happened at the end of the match, but overall, Strowman choking Jericho out, I didn't see it coming, and the match really, apart from that ending and that fan, just had nothing. But what it did have, the very bare minimum, was enough to take it away from the bottom rankings. 1 star. I may be being unkind to this one, but seriously, a 6-man tag this high up the card needs a lot more to get me excited, and it just did not deliver at all. Speaking of matches that were expected to deliver, and you guys watch my videos, let's take a look at the main event matches. And we have the first of the two with John Cena pinning Seth Rollins after the AA to win the United States Championship. Now, one thing I didn't know, because I didn't watch the pre-show going in due to computer issues, is that these matches were announced to be back-to-back in the pre-show. And I thought to myself, this is going to cause problems. You'll see why when I talk about the main event after this. Now, the psychology, I have to admit, this should have been better. Okay, I can understand the main idea of this. Seth Rollins wants to prove he's good enough against John Cena. And we saw that. But no body selling. No notion of aggression from either man. Really. And I mean this. And overall, apart from Seth getting beaten straight out of the gate and then regaining control as a result of his in-ring ability, there was nothing. I'm sorry, but I understand. Seth Rollins wrestled this match well. He is very strong for a guy his size. I get it. But this match had nothing to indicate apart from the offense that Seth had, showing he could match John Cena, which we already knew from the SummerSlam match. What else was there? This feud completely dissipated under the skin of the Sting feud that they were having. And that's the problem with this. This match felt barren. For a John Cena match, I really didn't like that. Move variety, though, kind of saved my skin a little bit, with a 2, with an overhang, or, you know what move it is. It's the move that always is the first default in every wrestling game they get released, where he jumps, clips the neck, and hits it down with a neck breaker on the floor from the top. It's a simple move, but I hardly ever see it, and I love it. A Hurricane Rana counter by Cena, which I don't care how you put it, is still damn impressive. The frog splash by Rollins, even though it missed, I still love seeing it. The superplex into a float over suplex. Oh man. Like I said, I liked seeing Seth Rollins' strength here, and that was a definite notion of it. Holy damn. And also John Cena hitting a reverse suplex. One of the few moves that will get me to mark out in wrestling, along with a crossface and an overhead belly to belly. So, yeah, can't go wrong with that. Nonetheless, though, there could have been a lot more from this, and there wasn't. So there we go. Crowd reaction was a 2. And this, okay, sure, they were into it, they were booing John Cena, they were booing Seth Rollins, they were cheering John Cena, they were cheering Seth Rollins, they were into the match, and made it feel like it was a big deal. However, here is a sin that no wrestling crowd should commit. Doing a Mexican wave. I'm sorry, but that means you're bored. The beginning of this match, with mostly rest holds and some beatings, was boring. Yes, but you do not, and I repeat, you do not do a Mexican wave. That is a cardinal sin. I don't know whether they were bored or it was just a Texas charm saying, hey, we're here, we're awesome, we're a crowd, yay. I don't know. And it kind of killed the momentum in the beginning of the match because Seth was going, yeah, I'm lapping it up, you guys love what I'm doing. Or maybe they were just bored. I do not know, but it kind of killed my notion of this match entirely. The match length and pacing, okay, it was the longest match of the evening. 16 minutes and 1 second. And it was quick to start off, but it slowed down just as quickly and way too quickly. But while there was multiple near falls, it didn't really add much to the match at all because the crowd, with the Mexican wave, and myself all knew the result. It was going to be John Cena winning. And it killed all notion of suspense of disbelief for this match because we knew it was going to happen. And the match didn't do anything to really convince us, as shown by these ratings. And my enjoyment was a 1 because I didn't enjoy this. I didn't. This match would and probably should have been better than this. Was it the placing on the card that ruined it? Was it the fact that the result was so predictable the crowd didn't care? Like, what was it? I mean, sure, what little this match had and delivered on, I will give it its plaudits. I will give it a 1 star. Or maybe I'll give it 1 1/4 because I'm generous, but when I look at this match, I'm not feeling happy about it. This match I had a lot of potential for, but maybe the result killed it. Speaking of which, let's head on to the main event and see how that turned out. And the result of that was Seth Rollins pinning Sting. Now, as I highlighted, having 2 matches back-to-back like this can either be fantastic or it can be a massive problem. This was a massive problem because you had a John Cena match that was predictable, formulaic, and honestly quite boring, going into a match with a man who is 55 years old, who many were expecting to lose, knowing the balance of things. Texans are smart in the world of wrestling. They know their stuff. Sure, they will suspend their disbelief, but they will know where matches go in the pace of things. If these matches were split off, this match wouldn't have appeared as dead as it actually was. Now, I'm going to highlight this right. There were some good points here. Rollins sold the beating he took from Cena nicely to begin with, and Sting went right after him as soon as he could, which was great. But there are some problems though. Seth was holding his own. Now I understand some of you will say, well, that's good. He's showing that even after a beating, he's a fighting champion, and that's good. But this is the problem. When you're in this match, you've just tried to run away from defending the title against Sting prior to the match, and you've been given an AA, and of course it's an overhead fireman's carry, onto the floor. Surely you shouldn't be getting up just as quickly and having the ability to fight your way through, despite actually throwing your weight around and running out of energy in the last match to the point where you lost. It, to me, ruined momentum, and it also ruined me the fact that Seth Rollins oversold those turnbuckle flips. They were flipped far too early, and there wasn't even any momentum from Sting. Like, he just Irish whipped normally. There was no momentum in him at all. Okay, it got better because Sting got put through the announce table in a desperate move to put him down for good. And I have to admit, I like the idea that Seth thought, okay, I can walk out now. Sting's an old man, he ain't getting up from that. But you know what? I don't think the fans are going to want to see this match end like that. I'm going to prove I can actually beat him. And that was lovely. Again, like I've said, you want to show that you're strong and determined to be a fighting champion, but you don't do it by getting up after you've been beaten through another match. You show this. And that's good. I liked it. And Sting, well, he tried to do some more and then collapsing in the ring, selling that table spot. It took a while to do so, but you did it. And that's made me happy. And yes, okay, it was a dramatic way to make that roll-up for the victory happen, and it gave Seth Rollins to make him look strong despite he wrestling 2 matches. Not very good matches, though. And here's why. Move variety was a 1. The diving crossbody by Sting to the outside was also good. It was, so good. But it wasn't enough. I love the fact that a 55-year-old can still do a diving splash to the outside and not hurt himself, but there needed to be more. Telling you. Then I get to the crowd reaction, 1.5. Now, I said already, the placement of these matches was a bit off. And it showed because the crowd was non-existent for the beginning. Non-existent. You know why they were non-existent? Because they had just seen one match and immediately followed another one. They knew where it was going, they were dead. However, even for that table spot, they were dead too. But you think about it. They popped for the Scorpion Deathlock, they were popping for Sting winning it, or the possibility of Sting winning it. So they at least suspended their disbelief for the idea that the result could swing because Sting put a lot of his finishing moves on him, or tried to. So that's at least one benefit. But the rest of it? Yeesh, there was nothing I could really pull out of it, and that, ladies and gentlemen, isn't a very good thing at all. The match length and pacing, a 1.5, because, okay, 14 and a half minutes, in fact nearly 15 minutes dedicated to this match. Sting's offense was strong, but it's slow, and it's mostly confined to moves from the outside, and sure, that was effective, but the slow pace of the match and the beating that Sting was getting, going, you know what, I could easily just pin him right now, but I'm going to just pick the bones, punch him up a bit, and inevitably that made Seth Rollins get momentum back because he wasn't being targeted enough. It was too slow, the momentum shifts took a while to come through, and it gave the match somebody through those, but the slow pace killed it. I'm sorry, but the slow pace ruined this. And for the time we got, it was just disappointing. And that's where my enjoyment factor comes in. I enjoyed it a little, because that table spot kind of spurred my interest, going, oh, okay, this is now interesting. But apart from that, there was nothing really that got me interested in this one. I knew where the result was going, and sure, Sheamus failed to cash in because of Kane. Yeah, that was after the match, when it didn't really matter. If it happened midway through, just like Rollins had done, and made the match more exciting in its endgame, yeah, I could have given it something more, but while there were more 1.5s on here, my discretion will highlight that this match, to me, just didn't do what I wanted it to do. And it felt really, really, really plain. And for a main event of a pay-per-view, I can't remember who tweeted this, but someone tweeted out at the show going, I'm pretty sure that this is the kind of match that will not entice people to get a pay-per-view or subscribe to the network for the future, or even say, hey, that was worth the time I spent waiting for this. It wouldn't have done it. And it's true. The match didn't. For me, personally, it was a main event that fell flat because of the way it was placed on the card for the previous match, and it had nothing of real substance. Really. So, I'm going to be kind to it. I could give it a star because I'm nice, but I'm not. The match bored me, it had problems, and honestly, if it wasn't for the Cena match prior, it could have done more with itself. 3/4 of a star. You all could have a go at me here, but this is my opinion, so if you don't agree with it, you know where you can take your opinion. That's the comment section. I'm just happy the match review segments are over, because this pay-per-view, my God, I expected a whole lot more. Now, onto my final thoughts. I didn't have a lot of high expectations going into this show, but as you can tell from the preamble to the looking at the matches, this show lacked a lot of substance. I have to admit, some of the matches delivered, but when I say some, I only really mean 2. Owens, Ryback, and Charlotte Nikki were the only two things that this pay-per-view gave to me that were actually of any form of quality. The rest of it, disappointed. Incredibly, considering in some cases the stories, even though they were a little bit non-existent, they at least should have given something more than they did to substantiate the lack of build that this show had. People expected the results, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone got every result correct. This pay-per-view didn't take any risks. It didn't really do anything that they couldn't have done at any other time. Sure, Chris Jericho losing to Braun Strowman in the match was the only one I got wrong, but it didn't really send shivers up my spine going, oh, that was a fantastic move, you did something incredible. Night of Champions could have taken its rubbish build, given these matches a reason for people to care about them, and made it a worthy show. For me, it was a flat, formulaic pay-per-view that did nothing to intrigue, apart from the two matches I have already specified. The commentary was a little flat at times, but at least sometimes they kept me laughing, like I've already highlighted, in the one or two instances they needed to. And while there was one fan who made himself famous on the internet for the last day or so, and honestly, we have a promo for a Brock Lesnar Taker Hell in a Cell match, it makes me think that this pay-per-view seems a bit non-essential. And it's reflected in the quality of the matches, and honestly, the quality of the show overall in the final rating I'm about to give. This pay-per-view could have been better, and honestly, with the quality of the matches they could have had, given some story, some intensity, and some crowd that actually were interested for some degree, it could have been great. But overall, it disappointed. Now, while there were two matches that fit the bill, it didn't do its job. And to me, Night of Champions, where the championships are supposed to be made important, it made everything else look like it wasn't in comparison. Ladies and gentlemen, Night of Champions 2015 gets a low, but honestly satisfactory 3.5 out of 10. I feel it's maybe a little too high considering the ratings I've given, but overall, when your highest match is a 3.25 star, it's not bad. There weren't any zeros, and it had just enough to retain my interest. But the thing is, when I'm staying up at 1 o'clock in the morning, watching through till 4 in the morning, like I've done over the years, I want to be having my time justified. This pay-per-view didn't do it. SummerSlam did, but it had a few stinkers. You see the difference between a 3.5 and a 6.5 rating on that scale. Night of Champions, disappointed. Let's hope Hell in a Cell, with its dubious record, can improve my expectations, because I'm looking forward to seeing Taker vs. Lesnar inside that cell again. Hopefully they can give me matches that are worth the time and have had the build necessary, because I do not want to have to watch a pay-per-view so shoddily built to have matches that live up to how shoddily built it was in retrospect. I do not want to see that again, and hopefully WWE will take the message on from fans and reviewers and critics like me and ensure the product is changed, because this autumn lull that I see every year is really starting to bore me. Come on, WWE, get your act together, bring me a show that can go above 5 out of 10 next month, and I will be happier than anyone could imagine. It's all I ask for. Give me that as a fan with good story, and I can be happy to watch your shows for the $9.99 that I pay. And there we have it, guys. This review of Night of Champions is done. I'm sorry that it's once again taken nearly 50 minutes for me to get through it, but you have to realise I kind of ranted my way through this thing. This pay-per-view didn't keep me happy at all. And like I've just said, if it gets better, hopefully I won't be in a position like this and I can get through a pay-per-view praising and not really critiquing in such a negative way like I've done tonight. But what did you think of Night of Champions? Was it better than I said it was? Was it roughly where I said it was? Inevitably, what did you think? Put your comments in the comment section. I'd be happy to read them as always. And if you liked this video, there's a like button down there. And if you want to see more that the CC Network offers, from animation reviews and countdowns and video game playthroughs and more wrestling content. I plan to put a Friday flashback out in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And all you need to do is click the subscribe button down there and all will be good. And I appreciate all of you guys who have followed me, because I'm only about 40 away from 500. I'm looking forward to seeing how many more people can get on here in the meantime. And apart from that Friday flashback and me recording a few Wind Waker playthrough pieces, as well as getting that top 10 season 1 episodes of Friendship is Magic countdown out, there won't be too much else before the Hell in a Cell predictions come out in October. So hopefully you all should be excited for that. And inevitably, I hope that this pay-per-view is the lowest point that WWE has this autumn, because like I've said, if it isn't, I'm going to be very, very disappointed indeed. Guys, I have been Freddie Thomas, you've been people listening. This has been the Night of Champions review for the CC Network, and just like I say every time, I will see you all next time. Cheers!